So welcome everybody to our open forum for December 2023. And as we will see as we go through the agenda, we've had a fantastic year as before, and we're very excited. Devet said it's a very good way to end off a year. It's a very exciting way to end off a year, thinking back to what we've achieved, connecting one last time, and then thinking forward for what's coming in 2024. So as a check-in question, I would love to hear from each one of you. What has been your most valuable community development win for this year? Yep, go for it, Jim.
Yeah, just to say, in some ways, it's perhaps what I'm going to describe as at the edge of community development practice, but you'll see, hopefully, the importance of the thing that 3 weeks ago, we brought all of the church leaders for our region together. That was the bishop and other leaders of all the denominations. And we had a workshop round table, and the people who made up the round table, we specifically drew from the most disadvantaged communities in the region. And some of the people from these disadvantaged regions had no church connection, but in a sense, all of them had experienced quite extreme poverty and inequality. So we had a roundtable discussion so that the church leaders could actually listen to the stories, about people's experience. And that proved to be a very, very productive, conversation. And that has led to each of these church denominations agreeing to have a look at their strategies and have a look at their policies in relation to responding to inequality and poverty, and open that conversation up, for them. The next step would be more challenging because I'm trying to sort of organize that some of the business leaders and people who are involved come to the same kind of round table, to look at the kind of policies, to look at the kind of structural things that their businesses are doing. And obviously, our system doesn't work too well. But we have the challenge in this part of England, which is very significant. I never thought I would live long enough to share this, that life expectancy is actually going down in this part of northeast of England. And that's quite kind of frightening. And in some places it's 17 years life shortage between the poor areas and the rich areas. So it's on the edge of community development, but it's a kind of process, the workshop, the round table of listening to local people. It was very, very significant, and I think it's going to prove to be an interesting new starting point of just communication with these organizations. So hope it meets the ideas that you had,
Yes, very interesting. Fantastic. Thanks, Jim. Anyone else like to share a community development win that they've had this year?
Yeah, so Paul, my name is Paul. Yes, currently a student at Guelph, as I introduced myself earlier on.
Yes.
But before leaving Ghana, I worked with the Department of Community Development, Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization, and Rural Development in Ghana. And my last project was on social and behavior change, a component of the child protection system in Ghana. So UNICEF, in collaboration with the Ghana government, developed a child protection community facilitation toolkit, which I have been a lead facilitator, and we use it to engage critical stakeholders in child protection. And I've been working extensively going around the country under project of ISS, which is Integrated Social Services. And we train stakeholders. And my last project in August before I left Ghana was to work with Plan Ghana, a branch in Volta region, the facilitators to know how to use the toolkit to engage the parents, adolescents, children, even religious and traditional authorities. I think, and it's gaining ground because community people are strategizing to come up with solutions to the protection of children. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Paul. Yes, hi, Saratu.
My biggest win in this 2023 is the Pathway to Higher Education program, my initiative launched to government secondary school. So this Pathway to Higher Education program is aimed at preparing students for higher education. We looked at the issue of low higher education enrollment rate. I will also look at the poor academic performances, and we also look at the issue of unemployment. So we weaved something that addresses these things as an enrichment program, and we first launched it in Government School for the Blind, Katsina State, where I teach as a volunteer. So this program currently has trained and graduated over 500 graduating students of secondary schools, and we're hoping that we'll also expand it to other public schools, because they are the majority. The public schools are the schools that carry the majority numbers of young people in Nigeria. So if we want to take community development and put it in their hands to make them participate, we have to bring them in such enrichment programs. So this is what my NGO did in this year.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Saratu.
You're welcome.
I can just mention my focus is also on was this year on the tertiary education, university environment. And it was about reaching the critical mass of the student community on improving their level of studiousness. And I designed tools for that. And it's been so positively accepted that we're going to roll it out this year, next year, 24. And there's even international interest in it. So I'm pretty comfortable at the moment with that focus of the work. When it comes to community development, as you will know, in South Africa, I think we're a little bit in a slump at the moment. Our communities are falling apart to a large extent of taking law into own hands, etc., etc. But that means there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good, David. No chance of you retiring anytime soon, then.
No, I've been employed again. Put it this way.
Very good.
But no, the instrument is pretty much. I think it's cutting edge, pretty much cutting edge in international terms. Not talking only on the continent. It's good stuff.
Nice, well done. Anybody else want to share a win? Maybe while you're thinking of things, I can share from my side. For me, the big thing this year was the unconference, and we did it slightly differently this time. We didn't have a global event where everybody joined from around the world. We decided to regionalize it. So we had several sessions taking place over the 10-day period in October in South Africa. Some of them were site visits, others were webinars. There were people presenting academic information. And so there were quite a lot of varied and interesting sessions. My 2 sessions were field events. So people didn't join us live, but I wrote up some reports on them afterwards. And one of them was a very exciting thing. And I thought of Jim's experience in the UK. We've launched a thing called Love Cities in South Africa. And a friend of mine here in the area that I live in started with Love Howick, which is the town that I live in, where he was pulling in faith leaders, business leaders, community members, NGOs, whoever was available and interested, to try and build up the town of Howick. And so there are various programs where we offer skills development to youth. We help young people who are unemployed to become job ready, help them with interviewing skills, writing their CVs and so on. And then business leaders can then contact the Love Howick program and say, I'm looking for someone who's got skills in Excel or whatever, and then match a job seeker to a local business. And this has taken off so well that we've now launched the Love Cities program. So the idea is that we are sharing this model across the country. And in October, we had 5 other cities and towns come and join us in Howick for a week. And we shared with them the asset-based community development model that I work with, and then helped them to see how can they get started in their own towns and cities to be able to implement the same kind of a thing. So that was a big win for us. And then I've also linked to that, developed a toolkit for ABCD so that people can once they've learned about what ABCD is, the asset-based community development program, they can then get a toolkit which will help them when they go back to their areas. So these are the wins from my side.
Yeah, mine is I don't know, maybe 2. I don't know, but it was, of course, one the most valuable. But I think my attendance to the conference, World Community Development Conference in Darwin, Australia, was a way of, in a way, validated my faith and ground in community development. The theme was community development on the edge, but of course the focus was on doing community development with the First Nations or indigenous communities. And the discussion centered around anchoring community development on indigenous knowledge, culture, practices, and many of the things most of the time we see in the books, but this time now seeing it real down in practice, and seeing how community development is now being crafted around the ways and the pathways of communities. Then that changes the perspective, because most of the time the theory is so clear that we need to start with the communities, but then now when we connect with the communities, and then now we get indigenous knowledge so richly determining whether a project succeeds or not, then that changes everything, because it's no longer the technical knowledge that we have as practitioners, as aligning what we do with what is valuable in the communities and what has been validated over the years by the communities. And that makes all the difference in terms of then validating all that discussing in community development. And so moving now from theory and seeing it in practice, that made all the difference. And I suppose from this perspective, I think a few of the books in community development might need to be reviewed, because there's so much that we take for granted in what we do and in what we write, and in how we construct our practice and our discipline, divorced and out of sync with some of the rich nuances in communities' life, anchored from knowledge that has been accumulated over so many years. And so that's something that for me, that was the eye-opener. And that was the biggest win, because then that changes the way now I discuss and also project community development as a discipline and practice. Thank you.
Lovely. Hobson, you were wanting to say something?
Hobson only works on the academic students for the rural community on how to use the tools for development for the year. Purely the community development tools, like the monitoring and evaluation of activities, was conducted for the year.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a brief thing I did for the semester. Yeah, in Ghana.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Hobson. Anybody else want to add? Otherwise, I will hand over to Daniel, who's going to take us through the achievements of the region. I think it's over to you, Daniel.
Yeah, so thank you, and good morning, everyone. And thanks so much for creating time to attend this open forum so that we can reflect on where we have come from and possibly vision where the theme largely is indicated is just taking stock as a region. What have we accomplished so far? And of course, the areas of improvement in the sense that possibly we had expectations or there are things we could have done better. And therefore, then what are those areas of improvement so that then we become better in what we do as a region and as a network of practitioners in this region. And then, of course, we'll also have an opportunity to vision for the future, because again, we can't go if we don't point out the path where we want to go. And this one now again is, as a region, we need to have some kind of coherence in how we organize ourselves. And that can only come from this kind of reflection, so that as we travel through the coming year, 2024, then we are very clear what exactly we're working towards. In the reflection last year, of course, we committed ourselves to the journey of the webinars and the professionalization of community development. I'll mention that later. And then, of course, then secondly, there is a IACD. You might be aware that we are coming to the end of the strategy period, what we've been working on, and now we are reflecting on the next strategy, 2025-2030. And so input from all of us will be very useful. And of course, if we can align that with also what we are doing as a region, that will be very helpful. And so that is the challenge to us as we think through this session. Then we see how we help ourselves as a region going forward, and how we also help or input into the IACD process. Take into account that, again, IACD is revising the logo and also revising or revamping the website. And shortly, there will be communication on the choice of the new logo. And so that communication will be coming through. And then, of course, we'll also be invited also to input into the development of the new website. And so these are areas that then we can start already inputting in the discussion. So next slide. So just a word about IACD. Most of the time I've realized that we take a lot of things for granted, that we have a common understanding on where we are and what IACD is all about. And as members, just to revamp, IACD, a global multidisciplinary network of professional community development practitioners. The multidisciplinary is very important because there are those who are trained in community development as a discipline, and though there are those who have done community development as a sub-discipline or some aspect of their discipline, but we all converge in working with communities. We have membership in over 70 countries. That means close to half of the world is as membership in IACD. And then, of course, we are accredited with the United Nations. Last week also, our leaders attended a session in Geneva on behalf of IACD as part of projecting ourselves and putting a voice for community development in the international discourse. Our mission is to promote participative democracy, sustainable development, rights, economic opportunity, equality, and social justice. Yes, we do community development as work with community development. And this is through our organization, with how we organize our communities, the education that we pass on, and also the empowerment of the people we work with within their communities, whatever identity, whether locality or interest, whether in urban or in rural settings. As members, of course, IACD is a platform for networking and capacity building through conferences. Those we can attend international conferences or regional conferences, practice exchanges, international or regional, or even local at country level. Then regional events and webinars like now what we have, which has become the gold standard in the IACD practice. And then publications. The most regular one is the practice insights. And then we have the international standards for community development practice, which they still work in progress, so that then we can be able to agree to have a way of working. And a review was done recently, and there's still discussion on how best to really get IACD members using the international standards. And there is, of course, talk about some documentation of how to use the standards in our community development practice. And of course, there are other resources that are available. We have the book on international community development practice, and also the recently published book on perspectives in community development. And then there's a bi-weekly newsletter that comes from Jessica's desk, which gives us all the information that we need to do on a weekly basis. And then we have podcasts that have been produced in support of the international community development practice book. So let me turn now to where we are as a region. And in terms of membership, we have 164 members currently in IACD. And if you take that out of a total population of about 500, then you realize we are quite a big constituency within IACD. And therefore, then if IACD is going to stand, then this is a region that is also going to be a pillar of IACD. And so we need to have our membership count in IACD. We also, of course, out of the total membership that we have, 83 students, that's slightly over 50%. And that has implications in terms of growing the next generation of community development practitioners. In as much as we want to look at it in terms of these are people who should now, at some point in time, pay and support IACD financially, we also need to see them as a potential and the future for IACD and also the future for our region. And so we need to do everything possible then to support this generation of community development practitioners to complete their studies and to join us in working with our communities. Out of the total membership, of course, we have 154 individual members, and then we have 10 organizational members, which again, if we factor in the 10 organizational members and the members in those organizations, then IACD membership within Sub-Saharan Africa then becomes quite huge. In terms of spread, then a third of our membership again is based in Nigeria, and that means that Nigeria also needs to count. It's one of the largest countries in this region, and so a third of the members are in Nigeria. And Kenya, we account for 25% of the membership, 13% in Ghana, and 11% in South Africa. And again, in terms of the spread, out of the 46 Sub-Saharan Africa countries, we have members in 20 of those countries. Again, about half of Africa is represented in membership in our region. And graphically, the next slide shows just where we are, and you can possibly locate your country. If we start, it's going clockwise, starting from with Angola on top, with 1%, Botswana 1%, Burundi 1%. Then we go to the extreme end, Ghana 13%, Lesotho 1%, Mauritius in the bottom 1%, Nigeria 33%, and then all the way back to Zambia with 1%. And that means then we have a potential to grow our membership, even as we celebrate the members already who are on board. Because as a network, we cannot be as strong as the size of our membership because numbers count. Okay, next slide, Janine. So in terms of activities over the year, just to recap very quickly, we've had our 9 webinars, 2 master classes, and then today we have the open forum, and that closes the 12 activities over the year, meaning we did not miss any of the slots that we had. And of course, our WhatsApp wall has always been vibrant with all sorts of interaction and sharing, and we continue to encourage us just to make it count. It is the only wall that makes us interact in real time, and let's make it count. Then we have had establishment of country networks, and there is work in progress to make them quite strong. Nigeria, they have what they're calling IACD Nigeria, and they're already quite some bit of discussion. We'll get some report on where they are, but there's already quite some vibrant discussion going on, including a possible conference next year in Nigeria. Ghana, they started their network this year, and it's quite it's quite vibrant, and they are they are pulling together quite a lot of the students and also people working in government. Uganda again started this year, and they're also very, very, very actively engaging, and they have already putting together their documentation, already to legalize the network. And last month, Mauritius came together for the first time, and they're already working again also on their network. And so again, I hope Joel will be around to report on their progress. Then over the year, we said that there was an issue about professionalization of community development, and a subcommittee from amongst our members was in place, led by Professor DeWitt. And we thank you, Prof, for the guidance. And we reached a point where now we needed now to see where to take it to the next level. And we already have a concept that we can be able to give them some certification of some sort as a way of encouraging our members now to have continuous professional development. But then this discussion, again, we put it in the Publications and Professional Development Committee of IACD, and it's been accepted, and a subcommittee and a working group is going to be put in place to process this, so that then we can be able to get an IACD certificate of participation for those who take part in these professionalization initiatives, which, of course, from our end in the region is very important, because there's been always a question of how do we pitch and leverage on this membership and being members of IACD for our professional development and career progression. And then there has been the survey of international standards for community development. A report is in place. And again, another committee is going to be put in place just to work out on modalities of supporting us as members to be able to use these standards in our work. Next slide. And so I want just to open up any of the networks present, represented, if they can give us some quick report in a word or two where they are, not in a lot of details. South Africa, I don't know if there's Janine or any of your colleagues might try to say something about the South Africa network, possibly one of the oldest.
From my side, I'm working on getting new members. Hopefully I'll get some of my students from the university this year to join us. And I'm working on getting some sort of ABCD movement or association or something. That's my goal for 2024, but nothing on the general community development side. I don't know whether Devet can add anything from his side. Okay.
Okay,
Over
thank
to
you.
Nigeria.
Nigeria?
Yeah, I'm also from South African region. Hello, yeah, I'm
Okay.
also from South African region. Although I reside in Durban, so but I'm not so. I only attend the meeting online. But at the moment, I belong to a group where we are trying to find a solution to a problem. At a site very close to ahead of Pietermaritzburg. We actually went to the site and we discovered in that particular area they had agricultural problem. They have good agricultural land, and they have not been able to do some farming. So what we are trying to do is that we want to launch into the community to empower them. We have actually started the process, and we are still in a process just to put some implementation in place, just to help them to be able to come up with farming, and also to see how some development can actually be put in place in order to help some youth that are not doing anything in that community.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, our encouragement from this side is that if we can have all this coordinated and one network within the South African IACD membership, then you can already synergize on all what you are doing, and then it will make a lot of difference. And thank you very much. Nigeria, Saratu, do you want to say something? Ghana. And to see from those present. Mauritius, I don't see Joel. Mauritius, they have meetings, and they are planning to have several meetings to already finalize the setting up the network, but at least they have had their initial meetings, which is very significant. At least getting started. Ethiopia, I don't see any member present. Again, Ethiopia, they have been working under difficult circumstances because, again, getting registered, there are political implications and dynamics, but the members have been meeting and still trying to see how they can navigate the bureaucracy to get registered. Uganda, again, Uganda, from the list present, I don't see any of the members from Uganda. Innocent had said he was attending, but I don't see him present. So the Kenyans present, anybody wants to say one or two things of what you have done over the year? Of course, we have a network of currently about 160 or so members, and normally we have 2 webinars in a year, and an annual one-day international symposium, which we've already done for this year. And we're already now starting to plan for an international symposium for next year in June. And we are exploring modalities of having a practice exchange, which again, we want to also organize it to be in a way that it becomes an international practice exchange. But we'll share the details as we get along. Take into account that next year we don't have a World Community Development Conference, so it is regional events that will make all the difference. And so if we can be able to pull it through in good time, then we'll be able to communicate with all of you for participation. And of course, of significance, last month, we were visited by Anastasia Krikly. Anastasia Krikly was the chair of World Community Development Conference 2018 in Maynooth, Ireland. And of course, she is the chair of the Community Work Ireland, which is the body that brings together all the community development practitioners or workers in Ireland, and also accredits their programs. And she's also a chair of the All Ireland Endorsement Board, which also endorses all the programs and activities relating to community development work. And we discussed some possible areas of collaboration of interest to us in Kenya, and they might also be of interest to us in the region. But that's a kind of network that that's already forming, and we are grateful to have that kind of high-level visitation from Anastasia in our country. So my call is that we have seen the numbers. Where we have more than 1 or 2 people, we can already start the process of putting together a network so that then we don't become lone rangers, because then at that point we become exposed and vulnerable. It's very easy to protect our small spaces, but if we can be able to come together, it will become a lot more easier. Then we have a voice also to get the duty bearers do what they're supposed to do for the discipline and also for the communities that we work with. Thank you very much. The next slide. So I think this one is best processed by Janine.
Thanks, Daniel. So if we look forward now, we've seen a lot of things that we've been doing, but we can make 2024 even better. So let's think about where do we want to be going in the year ahead. And our goal is to be a leader in promoting community development and to be a discipline and practice in the region and globally. So if we were to think of some action points, first, as a region, what do we need to do more of as the Sub-Saharan African region? And then thinking more bigger in terms of the IACD strategic plan going forward from 2025 to 2030, what would we want to see IACD doing going forward? So maybe let's start with some thoughts and ideas on what you think we should be doing as a region, as a Sub-Saharan African region. What do we need to be doing more of in the next 12 months?
Okay, so yeah, Paul again.
Yes, hi, Paul.
Yeah, before leaving Ghana, I've not heard of this organization. I've worked with my department for 12 years, 12 to 13 years. And I've worked on several projects, and I've not heard about this association. And my first question is that to know how one can become a member and how we can help my colleagues. For example, my colleagues in Ghana who are in community development from northern Ghana to the southern Ghana, how do we inform them? What is the procedure? How do we know the goal of the organization, the vision? I think if I will look for the website to get those information. But I believe that for the few years that I've worked with my department, we need to do more community engagement. We need to mobilize the communities, because for some time there has been this rural-urban migration in Ghana. We have illegal mining because a lot of people are desperate. There is no, because of climate change, farming is not very lucrative now. So the youth and those in a working class are moving from the rural areas to the city, especially Accra and Kumasi, where they are looking for jobs, and they end up sleeping in the streets and other things. So when you go to the countryside, you see that the place is becoming deserted. And that has been my challenge. And I've looked at the way to go about it, but because there is no much collaboration, you know, the department and the community development practitioners are not working together. That has been a challenge. So going forward, this association, I think if we put community development practitioners together in different countries, different regions, and we look at the specific situations, looking at the context, the situations, and we put our heads together, I think we will make a lot of progress. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. So I think one of the things you're saying there is a need to advertise IACD more widely to all the countries, so that people know more about IACD, what it is, and as you say, how to join, where to get the information.
That is it. Thank you.
Yeah. And perhaps within each country is to get, because as Daniel shared, some of the countries, I know Ghana has been very busy in putting together a country network. So they have their own WhatsApp group. They have people who are in Ghana, you know, talking about Ghanaian issues. So perhaps you need to get yourself, I don't know if you are on that group already, but perhaps contact them and see whether you can be included in that WhatsApp group so that you can hear more closely what's happening in Ghana.
So thank you, Jenny. Yeah, you just mentioned I should contact them, but how to, because I'm just hearing that there's even an organization like that. But if maybe on this platform, if Daniel can share some of the information with us, then maybe from here, I know that, okay, this is the contact person in Ghana, and this is who I have to contact. Thank you.
Sure. So maybe through, maybe through the IACD Sub-Saharan Africa group, Daniel can share the contact details per country. So those that have set up a country network, we can circulate those contact numbers. Thanks for that suggestion.
Yeah,
Jim,
I'll
I see
do that,
your hand is up.
Janine,
yes.
Paul indicates he's not a member of IACD, isn't it?
So my my supervisor, Ryan Gibson, he shared the platform. Like, so this is my second time. I think I listened to you some time ago, and this is my second time. So I don't know whether I'm a member. So I need to know the process to become a member. What qualifies me to be a member? Because right now I'm here as a student doing rural planning and development. There were questions I need to understand. My research was on why over these years, Ghana has received a lot of inputs from different organizations doing community development, but we are still grappling with rural-urban migration. We have done a lot of projects with the government, even Galam Stop. I don't know if you heard about it, to turn the youth away from illegal mining. We train them at the Department of Community Development vocational institutions. I was in Bongo, the northern part of Ghana, and all those projects, in fact, we are not seeing the results. So,
okay, Paul, if you allow me, Paul, if you allow me, you can share your number on the WhatsApp or on the chat. Then I will get in touch and then discuss how to link you up with the Ghanaian team, because already there's an association in place, Community Development Practitioners Association of Ghana, CODPAC, which is already been put in place. Then I can link you up with the team, and then and including also how to get to become a member of IACD.
Sure, thank you.
Hobson here, have you been championing it through the classroom at the College of Rural Development College? So some of the students are now getting to know. I've started championing the course through them, yeah. So very soon, a lot of students from the college will be embracing it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hobson. Jim, your hand is up.
Yes, I'm obviously quite far away from the context which we're discussing, but some of the kind of problems, issues which Paul identified are actually quite common here in the UK. And you know, before the end of the meeting, I was going to suggest that a part of a future program might look at an approach that's got potential, and it's called community wealth building. And in some ways, what would be interesting, because, as I say, Paul's problem, I'm sure, is repeated in each of the countries, and the same here, of how you respond to rural areas. And I think some discussion, you know, around the concept of community wealth building, and I'll say a bit more before the end of the program if you wish, might be quite common in each of the countries, so that, as well as the organizational links, we actually might look at organic links, you know, of how we're teasing through the issues that Paul has described. So anyway, it's not necessarily on the agenda for today, but just to say that I think there's a common thread that actually could help us link, as well as actually do something action-led in the field. And community wealth building, you know, has got a philosophy, it's got a set of values, and very, very close to community development. And if you wish, I'll say a bit more before the end of the session, but just not to lose Paul's concern there, you know, because that's something that needs to be addressed here, as well as, you know, in your contact there.
No, thanks, Jim. That's very useful. I've made a note, and I think we could put that in under the second part of this thing, the strategic plan for 2025 to 2030.
Thank you.
Is that generally, as IACD going forward, we should be, I'm guessing, but is it similar to like an asset bank, where you can kind of log your your skills or your offerings or your...
Well, I think it goes a step further, and that's why I see it as so close to community development principles, because what has been applied here in 2 or 3 examples in the UK is the value of do we see plural ownership of the economy? Who actually owns the economy? So what are the values of community wealth building? You know, is actually challenging in the UK the neoliberal kind of systems that we have. And I don't think these systems are so different in Africa, really, you know, because some of the initiatives in Africa are resourced and funded by connections to English business companies. So the whole issue of actually who owns the economy, who owns it, you know, and community development, of course, in my view, is about challenging that ownership. So so community wealth building, one of its values, you know, is about plural ownership of the economy and socially productive use of land and property. You know, who actually is gaining from the production of the land and economy in Africa? Because I don't think it's local people. You know, anyway, that's that area, and it's a longer discussion on another day. But it's just to open that up, at least get it on the agenda, and you know, for the future.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Jim. Any other ideas coming? Yeah, Devet.
Yes, I think Jim, we need to drink a long beer on that one. I just want to add, I think when I listened to Paul and what was said by Jim, everybody on the table now. Sorry, I'm David Schutte from South Africa. It seems to be there's a general lack of knowledge about the existence of the IACD, of Southern Sub-Saharan Africa IACD. And I'm just thinking whether we should not embark on whilst we do marketing, we also promote the knowledge. And I'm just thinking of, say, if we would have a series of master classes in 2024, that we open up 1 or 2 for the general public with a targeted, invited audience also included now. You don't have to be a member. It's an open system, 1 or 2 open sessions where we could target local authorities, people in Ghana or in South Africa, in any country, target specific people that you want to expose to what we do and the contribution we could make. Could be politicians, it could be local authority administrators, it could be local community development practitioners. But trying to say is we have a schedule of 1 or 2 master classes, which is open for the public. And with the agenda of a targeted audience who we could recruit for possible membership. I'm just thinking about departments. If a university lectures community development as a subject, we should target that university and some of the lecturers. So that we could instill a registration, a subsidized registration via the university for the students. That's future music, but I'm just trying to say we need to expand the way we do and think to a more widespread targeted audience.
No, that's a very good point. Like I was saying, I need to tell my students from this year, and I do in classes, I always say to them, this is an excellent platform for you to join, but it's, as you say, more targeted, more kind of intentional, with steps of this is how you do it, almost like here are the forms, fill them in right now. You kind of grab the people while they're there, so that we can boost membership and also tell people more about IACD. Thank you for that, Devet. Stella.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hi,
good
Stella.
afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Part of what I wanted to say is going to cut across between what Paul was saying and what Prof has said. I was thinking maybe going forward, we need to have a more open session, which is including even non-members, simply because you might find from a given country, there are 10 people who are thinking about the same community development activities, but they don't know each other. So most of the time, we narrow down to only registered members. You find that these members are not able to know each other. So each and every person is working on their own. So if we can think about even having an international symposium, which is basically online, which is now open to members and non-members, or we can do even a webinar which is including both parties, the registered and unregistered. Prof has talked about a masterclass, which again, for him is a bit targeted, but now we can use these other simple ways to include everyone, so that now those members who don't know other individuals from their specific countries, they can be able to network. And by that, you can be able to increase the numbers and also establish even networks for the countries that already don't have networks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thanks, Stella. So like networking, like this open session, but with a specific purpose of networking, and perhaps even have like a Ghanaian open network session and then a Ugandan open network session. So you're really targeting and saying to people, all of you in this country, if you're doing community development, whether or not you're an IACD member, please join us for this informal chat. And just get people, so like Paul and Hopeson can connect because they're both in Ghana, but maybe they haven't met each other yet. And then we have a massive, you know, email and phone number swapping session so that people can connect. And then outside of that forum, they then can meet physically for coffee or visit each other and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jenny, a quick one. I don't want to take much of your time. Department of Community Development is a good and a great place to get more people, local government, and like Department of Community Development, Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization, and Rural Development is another. Then Head of Local Government Service is also having officers for the department, which will help us to start off and get more members. Then the more we talk, more heads are better than one. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. Stella, did you want to add something?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Thanks for that suggestion. Anybody else still thinking about the Sub-Saharan region?
Janina, that Hobson is on board. Hobson is a member of the Ghanaian Codipac network.
Okay.
If you might want to comment.
Yanni, I have an issue also to put across. The renewal or registration fee, some of the banks will take about 300% as a charge, which has become very difficult for some of us to renew. I don't know whether we have any other channel we can renew without going through the bank to pay such an exorbitant charges, about 300%, which last year suffered this year. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Daniel, I'm not sure if you can comment. I know that there were issues with the payments for the World Conference, and I don't know whether there was something that was done from IACD side to assist with that.
Talk about PayPal. PayPal is an alternative.
Yes.
Yeah, PayPal is an alternative. It takes much less than the banks.
Okay.
If we can explore that one. I paid for a conference and I lost through the banks because they kept on coming back and I ended up losing half of the money that I was trying to use to pay for the conference in I think Scotland. So
yeah, maybe we must look at PayPal.
PayPal is the alternative.
Yeah. That seems to be globally available. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are these other alternatives to the banks and they're much cheaper and easier to process payments with.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think also maybe something that Daniel had mentioned earlier, the idea of practice exchanges within the region. And I know these things cost money and that money would need to be found from somewhere. But I think, you know, it's lovely to be able to think of traveling to Kenya perhaps for next year when you have your symposium up there, people from the other parts of Africa going and seeing what's happening in Kenya, especially as we've now decided that we'll have the world conferences will be every second year, and then the year in between, when there's nothing happening on the world conference level, the idea is for regional activities to take place. So that might be something that we can think about in terms of the sub-Saharan region, is how do we work out how we could maybe do some practice exchange activities. Any other ideas for the sub-Saharan Africa region? Yes, Dr. Mina, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I heard everybody's contribution, so I wouldn't know if someone has mentioned the contribution I want to make for Sub-Saharan Africa. But one thing is for sure, I am without a doubt excited to see everybody again as we prepare to wrap the year. And that is something that I feel completely excited about. As a professor of community development, I think one of the things we are lacking a bit is professionalizing the process. I'm telling you, we need to get more books out, we need to get more textbooks, we need to get more collaboration researches. I would partner with my school and generally when it comes to do with community development. So if you're a school out there and you would like to partner with the River State University in Nigeria, I can assure you I'll be glad to facilitate that, as they just opened the window for collaborations last week. And so we've had a couple of collaborators come in to work with us, and it has been fantastic. So for IACD, I think a lot of collaborations, hands-on collaboration beyond just the sessions we have would also do a lot in terms of professionalizing the process and enhancing skills and understanding of what community development actually stands for. And a lot of my students keep asking me, why do I still use the word community development, while I still insist to them class that it's supposed to be called sustainable community development. So I said, okay, yeah, it's sustainable community development. So we're actually moving in a way that we need to align with our global goals that recognizes that community development has something in front of it. And we're looking at sustainability of that process. So how do we enhance multiple partnership, multi-stakeholder interdisciplinary partnership, research? We need to churn out a lot more researches that will aid learning, information, education, communication. We need to come up with some more strategic, unions and partnerships. And quite a lot of things that we need to do. Like in Nigeria, I'm thinking we should work on the Council of Community Development, but I know that has been on and on and on, back and forth. So when I'm settled with exactly what's going on at my school, I think it's something we need to also come up, because people are still not the way I think these are just, I don't know, pardon me, forgive me if someone else has said all this, but I just felt I needed to, reiterate again that we have we have the intellectual power amongst us here that can change the dynamics around community development and actually make it more enduring, more professional, and then a lot more followers that would move from just being practitioners, just being, participants, to being practitioners and active impact personalities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mina. Yes, there has been some mention made of the professionalizing, and there's a subcommittee which is being led by Devet, looking at professionalizing community development. And Daniel also mentioned that that is also going to be part of IACD's strategy, where people can be given some sort of accreditation or recognition. So there is some of that in the pipeline. But I think, it sounds exciting what you've already started spearheading in Nigeria. So I would say keep doing that, and then and share your lessons learned, and help the rest of us in the region to also be able to do more of the same in each of the countries. So thanks for that, very useful. I'm just aware of the time, so I want to give us some few minutes to look at the strategic plan for IACD going forward. And I think some of it has been mentioned. So I think generally the whole thing around the professionalization is part of it, will fit into the general plan. And then Jim's idea of the community wealth building. I think that's also a big thing that we can pull into the big strategic plan for IACD going forward globally. But are there any other ideas of what you think IACD as an organization should be focusing on?
I think what Jim mentioned and also Dr. Mina mentioned is that we have to, as a long term, we have to get order in the house of community development and as a subject, as a discipline. And that's part of my passion also all the years, that we sort of demarcate community development and the practitioners and the profession as a entity in its own, independent as its own.
Yeah. And I think that will be in the plan, as we've mentioned. So yeah, that's just, I'm making a note of that. Because some things, once that's taken place, then other things will sort of naturally fall into place with things like training and so on.
Sorry. Yeah, just to follow up on what David is indicated, the whole issue of demarcating the discipline and the practitioners still remains a contentious issue, because I think from the north and also from Oceania, there is a concern that the discipline should not become elitist, quote unquote, because they're also community development workers who are not professionally trained, but they are still doing a lot of work in community development. And I think that's where now the whole process of professionalizing comes in, where then we're able to draw the line and say, this is what exactly needs to be done to professionalize what those who are trained in the discipline are doing, and also to give space for those others who are making contribution to community work. And then we have a very clear line. This is the practitioners, and these are the community development workers, because they have their space. It's just like in the medical field, we have the professionally trained medics, and we have the paramedics who do the rest of the work, and their place is very known. In our country, we have community health volunteers who are in the front line, and they're doing fantastic work with quite a bit of support from. And this is the kind of thing that we need to be able to draw a line, because we are not confusion then when we are promoting the discipline.
Daniel, I just want to add, we must get our concepts right. You are north from where I am. so be careful that you consider yourself being north.
We will reconvene our committee, and then now we can process, because I've had quite a bit of information, interaction with some of our colleagues from the north and also our colleagues from Australia, and it was quite in fact, I was on the firing line when I was talking about professionalizing community development.
Yeah, I think that is something that is going to take a lot of discussion, because there are people in communities doing a whole lot of stuff, which if you look at it, it's actually community development, and it's, in some instances, it's way more authentic and community-based and relevant to what is required on the ground, but it has no sort of label to it. It has no career name attached to it, and I think that's where we have to be careful that we don't marginalize people like that, because they are doing incredible work. There's a lot of incredible stuff happening at all levels, but it just doesn't have any kind of placement, you know, in terms of a profession. But how do we accommodate those people? How do we accommodate those groups? Yes, Mina.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We cannot even interfere or disrupt or want to attempt to stop their processes and procedures and interventions at the local level. In fact, I don't think we should. What we could do is you have two tiers of people who are coming to school. Now, people in my school coming to learn community development, how to go back and implement better interventions. Now, for those ones who hold them the responsibility of giving them contemporary current updates and building their skills, strengthening their capacity to be able to carry out those tasks effectively and be able to train more emerging leaders in community development. Now, for those who are already carrying out their activities from Adam, some long before the term community development was found, some 1800 they were working, and
sorry, Mina, we keep losing you, but I think we understand the gist of what you were saying. Another organization that I've done some training with around HIV has a system where everyone goes through the same training program, and then at the end of it, there's like a test, and there's a practical test where you have to then show your own facilitation skills on certain topics to do with HIV. And at the end of that process, everybody is given a certificate at a certain level. So if you are a well-experienced facilitator and you've understood the content of the course, you can then have a level 3, which means you can go out and you can retrain big groups of people, you can use the material and so on. A level 2 is somebody who should really just share the information at a kind of community, family level, informally. And then a level 1 person has the information but needs to study further and perhaps either come back for further training or work with a level 2 or a level 3 person to upskill themselves so that they can become a better facilitator. And maybe that's a system that we could think about. That's one way of getting around this idea of, you know, levels. I don't like hierarchical levels, but that may be something that we can look at, because we also have to, in professionalizing community development, we are being protective of the profession and protective of the principles and the way we work and so on. So there is a need to kind of do that as well. But yeah, I can see this is a thing that takes a lot of discussion and a lot of thought.
Yes, Jenny, that's the thinking that was also coming through in the discussions in the Professional Development Committee of IACD. The whole issue of coming up with this, they were calling them micro-credentials. These are these certificates at a much lower level from professional level, as a way of trying to acknowledge some of the basic training, professional development, the training that our practitioners would go through, and then they can get a certificate at a certain level. And to a large extent, that's what also in the region we were discussing under Prof. DeWitt, where we could get our colleagues through the modules in the standards. And then at the end of it, they get a certificate. And that's, of course, that's what one of the challenges we have in the region, who gives the certificate. But now that we already been able now to break through the IACD system and leveraging on the goodwill and the big name of IACD, then IACD can give those certificates. And so it's a question of us now trying to structure the process. But that's a discussion that I think we need now to be processed going forward within our region and also at IACD.
Yeah. Okay, I'm conscious of the time. We have 1 or 2 minutes left. So thank you for your contributions. And I think as you have your Christmas holiday and you think about things, if anything comes up, please do either pop it on the WhatsApp group or send Daniel a message or myself. It's good to just keep these things moving. But as a checkout question, can we just literally have maybe one word from each person to ask, what have you valued most about being an IACD member in 2023? So in other words, what is this organization? What is this IACD global family? What has it meant to you? What has been the most value for you in being an IACD member?
Personal growth.
Thank you.
Empowerment.
Empowerment. Nice.
And it has empowered me a lot here.
Networking.
Networking.
Okay.
Nice.
So far, I have seen a lot of knowledge sharing this platform. So I think it's a good place to be.
And we look forward to your membership form, Paul.
Yeah, I will.
For me, it's connection.
Hello?
Yes.
For me, I think I'm finding value for what I've been doing over the years in my community. I've been the Secretary General of my secretary community. I've just been appointed as the chairman of the CDA. And when I saw this association, I said, wow, this is what I've been doing. I think I found value. I found value for what I've been doing.
Lovely.
And I hope to learn from here.
You found your family. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, been quite inspiring, drawing all the energies from all that has been happening over the 12 months. And every time we have a session and you have a whole team of people who are so fired up about community development and all that we do, quite energizing.
Yes, so over to you, Daniel, for final words.
Yeah, if you can just continue sharing.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. And as Janine shares the slides, thank you so much for the support that you've received over the year. It's been quite a wonderful process, being so assured that every second Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. Nairobi time, we'll have a group of committed community development practitioners converging online. It's been so wonderful, and it has made everything worthwhile for all of us. And of course, we have set the standard for everybody else within the IACD regions, that they want to be able to benchmark with us what we do, that we have a clockwork system of webinars and connecting that we're able to do. And it's thanks to all of us and our colleagues who come from all the way, Jim, all the way from northeastern of England, joining us all the time. And that in some cases means waking up very early. And of course, we really appreciate. We have colleagues also from the extreme east, from Korea, from Philippines, joining us. So thank you so much for making it worthwhile. And mine is, again, just to indicate that we have had the open forum, but the wheel rolls on. We have a webinar coming up, again, in the second Wednesday of January at 11 a.m. Nairobi time. It will be 8 a.m. GMT. And we have Professor Ekuswe Ogato presenting on managing desired change in community development practice, imperatives and strategies. And then soon after that, we'll have somebody else presenting in February on devolved governance. And I'm inviting all of us. You choose a topic, we schedule you share the knowledge with us. We don't choose the topic for anybody. You choose it, what you are passionate about. And from what has come through, we already talked about a lot of master classes. So I'm encouraging all of us, get in touch, we schedule you, and we continue capacity building each other. We continue sharpening each other so that we become better for what we have committed ourselves to do. Then I wanted just to share some resources that are available. In the next slide, we have the International Community Development Practice book that's available from Routledge. And then we have the newest book on connectedness, resilience, and empowerment, perspectives in community development which came out about 2 months ago from Springer. It's available again. It's book chapters arising from the conference in Nairobi in 2021. But all of it, you find a lot of connections in what we do in community development. The next slide is our standards document. Many of us, we have it, but do we use it? And the challenge now is, how do we get this become the gold standard in guiding what we do in our community development practice? The slide, the picture or the image on the right is the latest podcast that has been developed on one of the chapters in the International Community Development Practice book. There are 8 podcasts that are already in place, which then make it very easy for you now to go through this book. And so it makes life a lot more easier, and you don't need a lot of complicated connections. You just connect, and then you can link up. It's a short, again, it's a short podcast to make life easy for all of us, 40 minutes or so at most. So these are resources that are available for us. And lastly, thank you for the support during 2023. And Janine, thanks for making it so easy for us all the time with your facilitation skills. And that I can always get to you in short notice to get all this happening. We will process all this and then we'll share in our wall so that then we can work together in the coming year. Enjoy the festive season and Happy New Year 2024. Thank you so much, and colleagues, it's been a worthwhile moment connecting with you. Let's keep the connection going. All the best.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Blessings
you.
for the festive season.
Love you too.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe and have a good rest.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye, and thanks so much.
Bye.